Folks, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Daily Power Parsha. This is, the first day of December, 2020. Amazing. December 1st. We started Daily Power Parsha mid-March, April, May, June, July, August, September, November, December. Thank God, Baruch Hashem, we're going strong. And we have today quite the discussion. So let's jump right in. I'm going to share my screen. It should be right at the location. All right, Joy is joining us. Let's welcome Joy. Welcome. Great to see you. All right, we are up to the mysterious wrestling match. As we left our hero Jacob yesterday, he was preparing for the encounter with his brother, the epic encounter with Esau, 20 years in the making after he had taken the blessings and raised the ire of his brother. So he was now going to finally encounter him once again. He was told by his messenger angels that that his brother was approaching with 400 men. He becomes frightened. He prepares in 3 ways. He divides the camp in case it comes to war. He prays to God, and he sends presents, sends gifts. All right. Then the last thing we did yesterday was we read the verse 23 and 24 maybe. Let's read it inside. And Jacob arose during that night, and he took his 2 wives and his 2 maidservants and his 11 children, and he crossed the ford of the Yabok. And he took them and brought them across the stream, and he took across what was his. So here's what happens. They are advancing. He's not stopping. He's not turning around. He's headed toward Israel, toward Canaan, toward home. He crosses a stream or river or ford. It's a ford, the ford of the Yabok. What's a ford? I thought fords have like a J in there.
When it like a fork in the road, I think it's the same.
Ford. I don't know.
Fork in the river. I
don't know.
I think it's a typo. Should be fjord, F-J-O-R-D.
Should be fjord, right? With a Y.
With
all right.
J. Yeah.
What with the J? I meant the J. Yeah, with the J. All right. Listen. I don't know. These are the same people that spoke about our people as yous. Sorry, Mark. When you spit at your coffee. Get it? They're missing the J.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Listen. All right. So either a fjord or a ford or a Chevy or a stream or a river, either way, he crosses the mishpacha with the stuff over this water entity. And then here we go. 25. And Jacob was left alone. This is the epic verse. And Jacob was left alone. Why was he left alone? According to the commentaries, he went back across the river or the stream himself because he left some items. And when he went back by himself, again, he had crossed everyone, the family, the stuff, the camels, everything was on the other side. He crosses back over, and now it's just him. And it's at night. What happens? And a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. That is a long wrestling match. That is longer than the old school WWF or WWE, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant wrestling matches. I mean, this is like an all-night wrestling match until the break of dawn. I'm going to read it. We're going to go back for some commentaries. The other guy, right, who we don't know who that is, when the other party saw that he could not prevail against Jacob, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip. And the socket of Jacob's hip became dislocated as he wrestled with him. So according to this narrative, the other wrestler or whatever, but the other party dislocates Jacob's hip. And finally there's an angel. Finally they mention the word angel, because according to the classic commentaries, this man is not a man, but an angel. So, and now it says, the angel said, let me go, for dawn is breaking. I'm going to explain all this soon. But Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you have blessed me. So the angel said to Jacob, what is your name? And he said, Jacob. All right, as you know. And he said, the angel said, and your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, because you have commanding power with an angel of God and with men, and you have prevailed. I love that, because you have commanding power over angels and men. What a beautiful line. And that's what Israel means, not Jacob. And Jacob asked and said, now tell me your name. And he said, why is it that you ask for my name? And he blessed him there. He, meaning the angel, blessed Jacob there. So Jacob is wrestling with another individual until dawn. At that point, the other party says, I got to run. They're in some sort of like wrestling, clutch. He's like, I got to go. He says, I'm not letting you go until you bless me. What's your name? Jacob. No longer Jacob, but Israel. Yisrael. What's your name? I'm not letting you know. I'm not going to tell you. And that's it. That's how the story ends. What is going on here? As you saw in the parentheses, according to the classic understanding, this was not a man, this was an angel. And which angel? I think I mentioned it yesterday at the end. The guardian angel of Esau. Here's a brief primer on angels. We've talked about angels before, the three angels that appeared to Abraham. We've talked about angels in other contexts. There is also the notion of a guardian angel that represents an individual or a people or a nation. This was Esau's guardian angel, who wrestles with Jacob the night before Jacob will meet Esau. And it's almost like setting the stage for the encounter the next morning. Who will prevail? How will it go? Right? It's kind of like the way the match goes on a spiritual level is the way things will play out on a physical plane as well. Although it's depicted here as on a physical plane, it's with an angel. So it's almost like the way the encounter goes with Esau's angel is going to dictate the way it goes. So the way and the way it breaks down is that they wrestle. And notwithstanding the power of an angel, the angel cannot prevail against Jacob. So he dislocates his hip. And then he says, let me go, for dawn is breaking. What does it mean, let me go, for dawn is breaking? According to the commentaries, that means, the angels praise God in the morning at daybreak. It's one of the things that angels do, apparently. Angels, no matter what, no matter who, no matter which angel, they're saying, Kadosh, 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 God is holy, holy, holy. They're praising and praying to God in the mornings. So the angel said, I got my prayer shift, I gotta go. You got to let me go. Dawn is breaking. And Jacob says, no, you got to bless me. And again, to understand the blessing of the name, remember how he got his name Jacob, right? What does Yaakov mean? Yaakov means Akev, heel, right? Because he was holding onto the heel of his brother. And Jacob, or Yaakov, almost connotes a scrappy, well, kind of like someone who's wrestling and scrappy and holding onto the heel and trying to pull someone who's ahead down or get ahead or whatever it is, but somebody who is in a modality of struggle. The angel says, here's your blessing, that you have commanding power with angels and with men. In other words, no longer shall you be the struggler. You shall be the overcomer. You shall be the one who has the ability to overcome the struggle and not just be mired in the struggle. So Kabbalah says, based on this, that Jacob and Israel represent two different aspects of our personality and aspects of really our inner character. There are some areas of our inner character that we struggle with, areas that we're constantly battling ourselves about and with, and that's the Jacob part of us. And then there are other parts of us that we find already to be at ease. We don't struggle. We're not, maybe once upon a time we were struggling with that area, but no longer. We find ourselves now being masters over that area of our personality or area of life. And that is our Israel persona. So again, Jacob represents the heel, the wrestling, scrappy, scrappiness. Israel represents transcendence, dominion, control, power, command, etc. So Jacob represents within us our struggles And Israel represents our victories, which is why, something very important, which is why this name change is fundamentally different than every other name change in Torah. Every other time someone's name is changed in Torah, the Torah does not go back to the previous name. Like Abram is changed to Abraham, and Sarai is changed to Sarah. Once those names are changed, we don't go back. But in Torah, it goes back and forth. In fact, if you don't believe me, look at the very next verse after the name change. The angel changed his name from Jacob to Israel. And what happens in the next verse? And Jacob asked and said, the next verse, it uses Jacob again. The Torah uses Jacob. And the question that the commentators wonder is why? Why, when Jacob's name is changed to Israel, doesn't it stick? Kabbalah, we already know the answer. Because unlike Avram and Avraham, or Abram and Abraham, unlike Sarai and Sarah, Jacob and Israel represent two personas that are perpetually in existence within us. Jacob is the side of our inner struggle, and Israel is the side of our inner champion. And we all have areas of struggle and area of control. And therefore, both are legitimate names. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Yes? Okay, I want to share some Rashi, because I feel like Rashi is going to add some interesting ideas here. Take a look at why Jacob was left alone. Look at what Rashi says. He had forgotten small bottles and returned for them. He crossed everybody over the river, but went back because he forgot some pachim ketanim, some small bottles. It's almost reminiscent, pachim ketanim, small bottles, it's almost reminiscent of the small bottle of oil in the Hanukkah story. Remember where they only found one small bottle of oil? Never discount the effect, the power, the significance of a small bottle. So you might think, just because he left some small bottles, he should return and put his life at risk? Again, he ended up wrestling with a combatant, with an angel. But either way, traveling at night alone is a bit precarious. So he did that just to retrieve small bottles? Yeah, because of the power that small bottles contain, again, on a spiritual level, not just a physical level. It's not about the money, right? It's not like things can be replaced, but it's about the concept of elevating the world and utilizing your resources to elevate the world. And if you have a resource, you can't squander it because it has to be used for a higher purpose. And Jacob did not want to squander it. Ari,
I have a little bit more from Rashi on that.
What you got?
It says he had forgotten some small jars against bottles and went back for them. That the righteous, Rashi kept going, that the righteous treat their property with care so that they should not send forth their hands at theft.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. In other words, you gotta take care of your stuff and maintain your stuff, because otherwise, if you don't have, you might be tempted to take something that's not yours. Interesting addition over there. I wonder why it's not in ours here. All right, either way.
Rashi, that's not the commentary, yeah.
That's in Rashi itself. I guess the different editions of Rashi.
Yeah.
Okay. Now take a look at what Rashi says when Jacob asked the angel, "What's your name?" And he says, "Why is it that you ask for my name?" So what kind of answer is that? So look what Rashi says. What he meant to say is that we angels have no permanent name. Our names change, all according to the service we are commanded to do and the mission upon which we are sent. Remember, angels are messengers. Essentially, they're messengers. And they're tasked with certain missions. Based on the mission, that's the name that they assume. So their name is based on the mission. So he says, "Why do you ask my name?" In other words, it's all about what's happening, and it's not about a specific name. Want to see if I can find... Oh, here we go. I found it. Okay, who is the man that wrestled with Jacob? So here we go. Take a look at this last line from Rashi. I just highlighted it. Our rabbis explained in the Medrash that this was the prince, the guardian angel, the angel formerly known as Prince, joking. This was the prince the angel, the guardian angel of Esau. That's where I got what I told you before. That's classic understanding, cited in Rashi, cited by our sages for thousands of years. Now, wow, crispy carrot parsnip latkes. All right, we'll have to say that for another time. Let's go into reading number 3, which is today's reading, Tuesday's reading. Here we go. This is exciting. So we read about the wrestling match. We read about the angel's blessing. We read about the name change. And here again, the Torah refers to him as Jacob. This name change is not sticking. I mean, it will go back and forth, but Jacob is very much still around, the name. All right, here we go. And Jacob, chapter 32, verse 31. Jacob named the place of this wrestling match Peniel. For he said, I saw an angel, panim, el panim, face to face, and my soul was saved. So Peniel is face of God. Peni or Pene means face, and Kel is one of the names of God. So Peniel is the face of God. I saw the face of God, the angel, face to face. My soul was saved. By the way, just to clarify what I said, not literally the face of God, but the face of a divine being, i.e., an angel. And I was, I didn't lose my life. All right, that's the name of the place. Let's continue verse 32. And the sun rose for him when he passed Penuel. Suddenly the name is changed from Peniel to Penuel, but it's a slight modification. So the sun rose for him and he was limping on his thigh. Remember, his hip got dislocated by the angel. By the way, angels will always resort to like low blows and dirty tactics. They can't get you down legally. Boom, they're dislocating the hip. Unbelievable. And you know the referee was like disqualified. Like it's a DQ. You cannot do that. You cannot go for the hip. Anyway, nonetheless, therefore, and here we have a practical halachic outcome of this, the children of Israel may not eat the displaced tendon, which is on the socket of the hip until this day. For the angel touched the socket of Jacob's hip and the hip sinew. This is called the Gid Hanasha, which is also called the sciatic. Is it the sciatic nerve? I think so. I think it's the sciatic nerve, something like that. It's on the hip, and there's a part of the animal, in a kosher animal. If you got a kosher animal, it was prepared properly, everything's kosher 100%. There's part of the animal that you can't eat. And it's the food, it's the meat that's around this this hip socket area and the sciatic nerve. So we cut out that entire chunk, that entire piece, and it's not kosher to eat. That comes from this story. Let's see if we have a Rashi on here. Let's see what we got. All right. Oh, here. One interesting thing about the sun rising. The Torah tells us the sun rose for him. What does that mean? So Rashi says, the simple understanding is it's a common expression. When we arrived at such and such place, the dawn broke for us. It's just a normal expression. However, the Midrashic explanation says that the sun rose for him to heal his limp. As it is said, the sun of mercy with healing in its wings. And those hours that it hastened to set from when he left Beersheba, it hastened to rise for him. Remember when the sun set early so that he would sleep in that place where the temple would be built and the ladder, he saw the ladder with the angels. So the sun set early. The sun set early. So now it rose early to help him heal with the sunlight. He got a little bit of healing on the limp that he had on his thigh, on his hip. Okay, so that's Rashi based on the Medrash. Okay, now we have the encounter. Finally, 20 years in the making. Verse 1. Jacob lifted his eyes and saw, and you imagine the movie, right? Imagine the scene. I don't know why he's looking down, but then he lifts his eyes and he sees the dust rising, right, in the distance. And behold, Esau was coming, and with him were 400 men. So he divided the children with Leah and with Rachel and with the two maidservants. Remember, he divided the camp out of fear of war. He divided the camp, and he placed the maidservants and their children first, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and her Joseph last. Well, I guess priorities, right? Who does he put first in the front lines? The maidservants and their children. Next wave, Leah and her children. And finally, the most protected is Rachel and her son, Joseph, last. By the way, don't think that Jacob went behind all of them. No. Jacob went ahead of them. He wasn't like hiding behind the women and children. No, not our forefather Jacob. He wouldn't do that. So Jacob went ahead of them and prostrated himself to the ground 7 times. And I picture, like people do the worm, where you go down to the ground and pop back up. I don't know if it's called the worm. I'm calling it the worm. Like where you whatever on the ground with your stomach and that sort of thing. I'm not going to demonstrate that, whatever, for many reasons, including because I can't do it. But here's the point. That's how I imagine it. He bows down 7 times until he came close to his brother. Again, as a sign of honor, respect, and kind of extending somewhat of an olive branch. And Esau ran toward him. This is the moment, folks. And he embraced him. And he fell on his neck and kissed him. And they wept. Wow. All of that buildup. And how does it end? With a hug and a kiss and with tears. Who would have thought? After all the animosity, all the preparation, all the prayers, all of this stuff, 20 years of simmering hate, and it's dissolved in a hug and in a kiss and in tears. And Esau lifted his eyes and saw the women and the children, and he said, "Who are these to you?" And Jacob said, "The children with whom God has favored your servant." It's my mishpacha. It's been a while, brother. I left when I was single. Remember, Esau was actually married by then. Esau was married. When Jacob left to find a wife, he added another wife because he saw his parents. Remember that? He added a third wife, exactly. But he had wives. They were idol worshipers, and he probably had children also, which I'm sure we read about, right? Whatever. But his brother was just single. So he says, "Who are all these people?" The family that God has blessed me with, and that's how this reading ends. What a dramatic, you think it's going to end in a war, and it ends without even a shot being fired. However, there are more interpretations. Oh, one second before I show you Rashi. 1 second, I got to show you something in the Hebrew. Listen, you can see this without any other need of other commentary. You can see that. Do you see the dots over all the letters? Look, some letters, I'm going to make this really, hold on. How do I make this larger? Here we go. Vayishlach. Let me get this. I'm going to make this really large. It's so large, I have no idea. Oh, yeah, here it is. That word that I just highlighted blue. Vayishlach. You see that? There's a dot over all of the letters. There are dots over all the letters. Oh, the shin has a dot to indicate that it's a shin, so that doesn't count. But there's a dot on the other side of it. So there's one dot over each of the letters. Notice all of the other words, they have, cantillation mark on top. They have a vowel on top. Vowel, cantillation mark over there, cantillation mark over there. But this word has dots. And in the Torah, listen to this. In the Torah, there's no punctuation. And a Torah scroll, no punctuation, no cantillation marks, no musical note indications. But these dots, you do have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dots. Open up any Torah scroll in the world. Go to any synagogue, to this portion, to this verse, open it up. You'll see it handwritten in Hebrew with dots over all the letters. And the question is, why the dots? What's the deal with the dots? What's the significance of the dots? I'll tell you what Rashi says. Let's look at Rashi. Here we go. And he kissed him. This is Esau kissing Jacob. There are dots over the word. Now you know what it means, right? There are dots over this word in the Torah. Now, Rashi says there is a controversy concerning this matter in a Braita and Sifri. In other words, amongst the sages, they disputed the meaning of this word in the dots. Some interpret the dots to mean that he did not kiss him wholeheartedly. In other words, some say the dots indicate that it weakens the word. The word says that he kissed him. He didn't really kiss him so wholeheartedly. However, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, who was the great Kabbalist, the Rashbi, he said the following. He was also a master of the revealed parts of Torah and Halacha as well, and a Mishnaic sage, but he was also a mystic. He says, it is a well-known tradition that Esau hated Jacob, but his compassion was moved at that time, and he did kiss him wholeheartedly. And so he says, no, the dots don't indicate that he didn't mean it. On the contrary, he did mean it. Although he hated Jacob, at that moment, he was filled with compassion and filled with even love. So that is the dispute amongst the sages, whether or not he really felt the love at that moment or not. Either way, he kissed him. However, I need to share with you one more comment. There's another comment that Rashi does not bring. Vayishlach, because of the dots, according to some, should be read Vayishlach, which means, and he bit him. Which, according to this tradition, Esau ran over to him and bit him on his neck, or tried to bite him on his neck, vampire style. However, according to this tradition, Jacob's neck turned to marble, or became like marble, and Esau was not able to bite him and to harm him at that moment. Rashi doesn't cite it. I don't believe, at least here, Rashi cites it. But it's a classic interpretation, a classic understanding of this story, and one that's told to kids very often when they're learning Torah, when they're learning this story for the first time, that Esau actually ran over to bite him, but he couldn't bite him, so he kissed him instead. But there is this notion of him trying to cause him harm. The question is, what's going on? How do you get two completely different interpretations? From a kiss to a bite? From a bite to a kiss? It's not like a little bit different. It's vastly different. So how do you reconcile? I once saw a nice interpretation, a modern day take on it, that said, when you're dealing with an Esau, when you're dealing with an anti-Semite, well, again, we're going to call him an anti-Semite, someone who hates the Jew, even a kiss is a bite. In other words, when the guy who hates you is being nice to you, don't worry. I mean, don't be lulled into a false sense of security. Esau's kiss is also a bite. Anyway, that's a modern day, I don't know, that's a bit of a cynical way of looking at it, but nonetheless, you got to be careful. Sometimes your enemy will appear to befriend you and to do something nice, but it could be just a setup to stab you in the back. And therefore, the message is, be careful with Esau's embraces and kisses. You never know when the fangs are going to come out, so to speak. All right.
Ari, I've got something interesting.
What you got?
Says this is from Messiah Ilmim, whoever that is.
Mesechet Yuma?
No, I-L-M-I-M, Ilmim.
Oh, Messiah Ilmim. Okay, it's a commentary. Yeah.
Yeah, he says where the dotted letters outnumber the undotted letters, we expound the dotted letters. Here, all the letters are dotted to indicate that in some sense, all of the letters are removed from the word, that the word is not fully there.
Right.
This teaches us that Esau did not kiss Jacob wholeheartedly. Right.
Excellent. So some words in Torah, very rarely, but some words have a few dots over the word. So if there's a disparity between the number of dots and the number of letters, there's one way to look at it. But here you have dots over every single letter. It indicates that every letter, it's almost like a strike through, let's say through each letter. But you're not going to strike through the letter of Torah, so you put dots on top that indicate kind of, he didn't really kiss him that wholeheartedly. But that explains the first opinion. But according to the Rashbi, at that moment, he was overwhelmed with compassion, And he did kiss him wholeheartedly. So there's a dispute amongst the sages. There is definitely an opinion that at that moment he did kiss him wholeheartedly. I actually want to end with that because I think that, notwithstanding the idea that it wasn't wholehearted or that he tried to bite him, there is an angle on it, and the Rashbi says it, so it's got to be good. There is an angle that he did mean it at that moment. And I think that's a beautiful message. Notwithstanding the history or the hatred, it's possible for a person in the moment to feel compassion and to feel love. And I think it gives us hope, for any relationship. I don't, you can drop from the extreme and then apply it to the less extreme cases. If in this case, where Esau was a violent man, he lived a violent life. That's who he was. And he was harboring violent fantasies against, God forbid, his brother Jacob. And it's been simmering for 20 years. And he came at him with 400 men. And he's been savoring, waiting for this moment for decades. And when the moment comes, he could still be overcome by compassion and love for his brother and hug it out and kiss it out. If that's possible in that relationship, it's possible in all our relationships. Yeah, there might have been a fight that happened 20 years ago, and maybe you're not speaking to that party, and maybe there's a grudge and hard feelings, but there's always hope for a relationship. All it takes is to meet face to face, to have that encounter. The encounter itself, the Torah is telling us, can melt the barriers that have been constructed. If it's true in the case for Esau, it's got to be true for you and I. So let this be another statement of encouragement to work on healing old wounds and repairing old relationships that might be a little bit broken. Broken's maybe a hard word, but maybe a little bit in need of some TLC, some extra repair. All right, we can even learn a lesson from Esau. That's the power of Torah. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you very much for joining me for Daily Power Parsha. So,
I'm sorry, Rabbi. It's also everyone is redeemable, right?
Yeah. Even an Esau is able to come around in the moment. It doesn't mean that the next day he wasn't. Oh, what did I do? But in the moment, he was able to come around, and that's a beautiful thing. Exactly. Mark, a hypothetical question: would you come out, given the weather today, tomorrow, whatever? Would you come out for in-person outdoor DPP?
I would, but tomorrow I can't. I've got somebody coming here to work at the house.
Got it. But I'm saying the cold wouldn't scare you off.
No.
Joy, would the cold scare you off? It would not scare you. Yes, it would. Okay. All right, got it. Okay, I'm going to send out a message in a little bit with, I'm going to look at the temperature, again, consult a little bit with some others, and I'll get back. We have 3 options. You ready? Option 1 is we do it outside. Whoever shows up with lunch. Option 2 is we move it inside. That's an option. Option 3 is we just don't do it in person at all. We just do it on Zoom. Those are my 3 options. Should we vote? I know, Donna, you're voting outside.
But I mean, even if you do it outside, people can still Zoom in.
Correct. Right. That's true.
So it seems to have both options.
Right. Okay. All right. We'll figure it out. We'll make a decision.
Yeah, I saw for the event for next Saturday, a week from Saturday, with the Israeli. So the pickup in Virginia Highlands, is that Chabad location?
Chabad or my house.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, what Donna's referring to is we just released a new event today, this morning. We have the designer, the engineer, chief engineer of the Iron Dome, the Israeli shield, who will be speaking to us Saturday night. The Hanukkah miracles, right? Talk about the few against the mighty and the weak, right? So Iron Dome, a modern day Jewish miracle of protection. Modern day Maccabees defending Israel from rockets. So we'll have the chief engineer live from Israel. It's like 3 a.m. He'll be speaking to us about the Iron Dome, the science, the technology, and also some of the miracle stories that have happened over the last 10 years, in the 10 years since it's been implemented. And as Donna was asking, yes, we're going to have a gift box for those that sign up, for those that wish to pick it up. We have a gift box of gourmet latkes with dips and sufganiyot and jelly donuts. So That will be available for pickup. We have 2 locations for pickup, Toko or Intown by us, either by my house or a Chabad, depending on the time. So that's going to be a Saturday night event, which is going to be incredible. It's a Zoom event, but it has the food component. So from the comfort of your own home, it's a Cafe Chabad event. I'm sure, right, you're familiar with Cafe Chabad events in the past. So usually we gather in person or whatever, but for right now, we're going to Cafe Chabad at home with food and a live speaker. So that's the plan.
Cool.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty incredible. It's already up on the website. So take a gander. Probably an email, not probably, an email will please God go out to either later today or tomorrow morning first thing about this event. Okay. All right, that's it. Joy, any chance you'll join us tomorrow in person? And do you have a preference, one or the other?
It's gotten kind of hard for me to come in person, to tell you the truth.
Okay. All right. So then either way, you'll probably be online.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. And Stephanie, you mentioned that possibly you might think about coming in person.
Yeah, my husband can bring me. I asked him if he would, and I just don't know if it'll be this week or next week. I don't want to say I'll be on Zoom one way or the other.
Right. No worries. If you would be able to come, do you have a preference, one or the other, or both?
No, no, I'm okay as long as we're distanced inside and I can wear a mask. And we wear masks. Yeah.
And outdoors, you're also okay?
Yeah, I think it's nice out actually.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, good. Thank you for weighing in on that. And I will stay tuned. Look out for an email. All right. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Take care. Bye.